Donald Trump was beautifully brutalized by Jack Smith in a new legal filing in his federal election interference case. A couple weeks ago, Donald Trump and his legal team attempted to get the entire federal election interference case against him thrown out, filing a motion to dismiss. And Jack Smith has now responded in his own filing in brilliant fashion, as he tends to do. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. We'll also get to a few different Trump-related things, just some wild stuff taking place on that front. Him raging in the New York courtroom and accidentally proving that he's been lying about something, getting fined and risking getting himself jailed, and another one of his former lawyers pleading guilty in Georgia. So lots to discuss. But this response by Jack Smith and his team was 50 plus pages, just knocking down every argument made by Trump's legal team. A legal brutalization, you could call it. But first, what was the argument made by Trump's legal team? Well, they try to argue that everything Trump did in his attempts to overturn the election results was within his official duties as president. In one part of the filing, writing, "When a president speaks to the public on matters of public concern, especially issues of uniquely federal concern, like federal elections, those statements fall in the heartland of his or her official duties." And there, once again, referencing the same baseless defense of Trump we've heard so many times now. He's being prosecuted for his freedom of speech. It's just not the case. He's being accused of participating in actions that were unlawful, such as getting people to sign fraudulent forms, submit them to governmental entities claiming they were the duly elected and qualified electors of particular states when they just weren't, and fraudulently assert Trump to have won states that he lost to justify disenfranchising millions of voters and keeping Trump the president. So referencing the speech of the president is irrelevant. But why should I debunk these arguments when Jack Smith can do it for me? Here's this from his new legal filing. Defendant Donald J. Trump moves to dismiss the indictment, asking the court to afford him absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for what he expansively claims was official conduct during his presidency. The novel approach to immunity would contravene the fundamental principle that no man in this country is so high that he is above the law. The defendant is not above the law. He is subject to the federal criminal laws like more than 330 million other Americans, including members of Congress, federal judges, and everyday citizens. None of the sources the defendant points to in his motion, the Constitution's text and structure, history and tradition, or Supreme Court precedent, supports the absolute immunity he asked the court to create for him. Before reading more, that's tapping into the real core of the argument from everyone defending Trump. Really, when you get to the core of it, it's all the same. The real issue they have with him being prosecuted, it's not because they believe it's political persecution. It's not because they don't think there's substantial evidence. It's not because they think it's acceptable for a sitting president to attempt to subvert the will of the people and install himself the president, but because his name's Donald Trump. That's it. They think Trump should be above the law. It's as simple as that. And he's not. And Jack Smith is proving that every single day. Here's more from his filing. In staking his claim, he purports to draw a parallel between his fraudulent efforts to overturn the results of an election that he lost and the likes of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and George Washington's Farewell Address. These things are not alike. The more apt parallel the defendant identifies is to judges who, like a former president, enjoy absolute immunity from civil damages liability for certain conduct, but who are subject to criminal prosecutions as are other citizens. The same is true for the defendant. For the reasons set forth below, the defendant's motion to dismiss the indictment based upon presidential immunity should be denied. And then it goes on in page after page to demolish Trump's legal team's claims in support of this motion to dismiss, which, needless to say, is not going to be successful. I don't even think Trump's lawyers had a lot of hope for this one, but potentially could help them with appeals later on. But good for Jack Smith and his team for going through in such detail and just knocking down all of these nonsense arguments, which really are so absurd. So while Jack Smith is crushing Trump's legal team, Trump is in New York accidentally proving that he's a liar in front of cameras for the gazillionth time. I have a clip here for you. It's pretty remarkable. Watch how quickly Trump forgets his own lie. He'll say that he has to be in New York for his civil fraud trial, and they're doing that to him because they want to keep him from campaigning, to hurt his presidential campaign. But then he gets asked about the next day of the trial and says, "Nah, I'm going to be at a golf thing," proving he's not required to be there. Take a look.
Coming back to Armin. Thank you very much. I just want to say this trial is a disgrace. And every witness we go through is perfect for us. And all they're doing is asking questions. It's almost like they're just filling in the blanks. Because it's a rigged trial, totally rigged trial. You look at the record of the judge, you look at his attitude, you look at his statements. He convicted us before we had a day in court. convicted. He said, you're guilty. Before we had a day in court, we didn't even get here yet. And now we're finding out that everything is perfect. It's actually perfect, except on their side. They value Mar-a-Lago at $18 million. And they say it's worth maybe 100 times more than that. But let's say 50 to 100 times more. But they value it at 18. And then the Attorney General backs it up. Because she convinced him that it was worth $18 million. And everybody throughout the world is laughing at it. It's so ridiculous. But this is what we go through because they want to keep me here instead of Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and lots of other great places. They want me to be here. It's a disgrace what's happening. It's a rigged trial. The whole thing is rigged. This should be in the commercial division where the judges understand it.
Will you appeal?
Because there's no understanding here. They don't understand it. Although I think he does understand it, and that's what makes it much worse. This should be in the commercial division. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you use that tomorrow by any chance?
Probably not. Probably we're having a very big tournament, professional golf tournament.
Yes, sir.
At Doral, so probably.
Mr.
not.
Trump, are you?
We talked about this previously. He keeps perpetuating this conspiracy theory that this is all a plot to keep him off the campaign trail. The reason he's being required to be in New York for the fraud trial is to prevent him from holding rallies or whatever. Even though, since the beginning, that just hasn't been the case. He's not required to be there unless he gets called to testify. And he bolsters the fact that that's true by admitting that he's off to a golf event the next day. And that's the thing about being a liar. Because if you tell the truth, if you're honest, you never have to stress about exposing yourself. Because in every moment, you can just say what you know to be true and you're good. But when you're a serial liar like Donald Trump, it's hard to keep track of all your nonsense and all the different lies coming out of your mouth. So inevitably, separate from the facts being compared with your own words being compared with your own words will prove you to be a liar. Pretty wild. Now, maybe he's having a hard time keeping everything straight because he is profoundly stressed about his legal future, as he should be. A couple things to update you on that. First, this.
Breaking news from the Fulton County Courthouse just moments ago. Fulton County election interference co-defendant Kenneth Chesbro entered a plea deal with Fulton County prosecutors. Under the deal, Chesbro will receive 5 years probation, pay $5,000 in restitution, perform 100 hours of community service, and write an apology letter to the state of Georgia. He also agreed to testify against other defendants. He becomes the third person indicted by a Fulton County grand jury in the election interference case to enter a plea deal. The deal comes on the day jury selection began in his case, the day after co-defendant Sidney Powell entered her own guilty plea.
So another one of Donald Trump's lawyers pleaded guilty in the Georgia election interference case. That's huge. We talked about Sidney Powell also, and now Chesbro is saying, yeah, we did the fake elector scheme. We tried to subvert the will of the people and just keep Trump in power because we wanted him to, not because that was the will of the electorate. That's really bad for Donald Trump. Already having people choosing to save their own behinds, in part at the expense of him. Then you have this news as well. NPR writes, former President Donald Trump was fined $5,000 on Friday after his disparaging social media post about a key court staffer in his New York civil trial lingered on his campaign website for weeks after the judge ordered it deleted. Judge Arthur Engoron avoided holding Trump in contempt for now, but reserved the right to do so and possibly even put the 2024 Republican frontrunner in jail if he again violates a limited gag order barring case participants from personal attacks on court staff. And this is in relation, as the NPR article noted, to the civil fraud trial in New York. Trump already had been gagged in that case and then continued to violate the gag order. In this case, leaving his attacks against a member of Engoron's staff on Trump's website, which was explicitly prohibited in the gag order. And then Judge Engoron said, quote, make no mistake, future violations, whether intentional or unintentional, will subject the violator to far more severe sanctions, which may include steeper financial penalties, holding Donald Trump in contempt of court, and possibly imprisoning him. That's serious. Trump is actually risking putting himself in jail because of his behavior, as I previously discussed. Stunning stuff, for sure. Hey, before you go, don't forget to become a member at lukebeasleyshow.com/membership to get access to a daily bonus show, entire bonus show Monday through Friday, exclusively for our members. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, Twitter or X at Luke P. Beasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a daily morning newsletter summarizing the previous day's event by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief, and I'll see you all in the next video.